This podcast is meant to inform, entertain, and occasionally stir the pot in a good way. The opinions expressed are our own, shaped by personal experience and thoughtful research. They may not reflect everyone's views, and we may even offend you. We're just a couple of humans doing our best to advocate, educate, and elevate, one episode at a time. Yours truly, The Bark. P.S. Please don't sue us. Hi, how are you?
I'm back. I'm great. How are you?
I'm great too. Why? Yeah. Can you explain to me why you're this close to me?
It's because I've missed you so much. And I'm like, I really need to be closer to Candy today.
Sounds great.
But also because we have a guest.
Yes, we do.
And we gave her her own couch. We like her that much.
We do.
So with us is Jessica Schultz. Yes, I said that right.
You
awesome.
Did.
So we'll back up a little. Jessica is joining us today on The Bark, a pet podcast on Leash, because we talk a lot about, we're a part of Lost Saving Paws, and everyone asks us about the laws. And so part of our exploration, I want to say, is us kind of figuring out the legal side of everything. And we are very quick to say we don't know everything.
We don't.
Right?
I promise.
Only 98% of things. No, I'm just joking. I'm
That
very,
would be phenomenal.
very kidding. But yeah, so part of that is building relationships with people who know more than us.
Right.
And Jessica here is one of those key contributors, I'd like to say. So yeah, we are here, and we are listener supported. Just a fun fact, little reminder.
Yep. We are looking for funds. If you can help us fund this podcast, we have a great team that supports us, but podcasting is not for free. So we are trying to fundraise. We're trying to gain community support. We're getting a lot of positive feedback.
Yes,
That's
we
wonderful.
are. It is wonderful. So
yeah, keep spreading that. If you're listening, if you're subscribing, share in your socials. But also, if you would like to continue hearing us, please fundraise. If you own a business and would like to have us mention you on our website, on the podcast, and so on, we do have a sponsorship page on our website, LSP.
Oh, is this the part where I'm supposed to say the website?
Yes.
Oh, lawsavingpaws.org
yes.
/The Bark, one word.
Yes. So there are ways to sponsor us, and we are looking for some business partners.
Yes, for sure.
Long-term sponsoring.
And I'm just laughing to myself the whole time you were talking about that, because I feel like with every episode that we record, I'm like... the desperation meter.
Yes.
It ticks.
Yes. This area of the world is not well funded, I will say. I work with people who work in philanthropy, and I look at a lot of websites and programs, and there's a lot out there for STEM education, even environment, and environment, they'll include wildlife, but I feel like things like dog rescue or dog issues falls through the cracks because it is not a part of a lot of corporate or business.
Yeah.
They all flock to certain areas. They tend to flock to certain areas. And I feel like there's this huge dog issue, and it's often overlooked, unfortunately.
Yeah, agree. Well, we learned that when we're trying to look for grants.
Yes.
And we're like, where can we nudge ourselves into?
Yes. Yes. So.
But yeah, so all of that being said, we're happy to be here. We hope we continue to be here. So
Yes.
listen, share, support.
And Jessica, we're happy to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
Yes.
I feel like, Jessica, I met you. I've met you for the first time in real life today.
Yes.
It's been wonderful. But I think it was maybe on Instagram where we were connected. I think. Did you find out about us? I don't remember that.
Yeah, so somebody sent me one of your flyers for a fundraiser event you were doing and said, hey, check them out. So I went on Instagram and followed, and that was probably all the capacity I had for the day was to go and look and be like, all right, what are they trying to do? And see that. And then I think I started, engaging, liking all of your stuff that I saw. And then I think you saw me and then saw that I had, my background as far as doing animal law related things. And so that's how we connected.
Yeah. And you were easy to talk to because I feel like I know a lot of attorneys. And like in my family, there's a lot of attorneys. And I feel like I don't know. I think some are just, they're easier to have a conversation with. Just like I was able to relate to you a little more too. So it was just like organically, I don't know. It's just been so great getting to know you. And then we have this passion for this stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm excited you're here.
Yeah. Jessica, can you give us a little layout of what is it that you do?
Sure. So I am a Tennessee licensed attorney, and I'm going to give a disclaimer. I probably will say this 5 or 6 times.
We love disclaimers.
But I am not giving you legal advice. Okay. Every case has its own different facts, so seek advice from a Tennessee licensed attorney or wherever you're listening from, a state's attorney. A lot of this is just, personal experience based on cases I have either handled or am aware of, or my personal opinion. So, yes. But I am an attorney here in Tennessee, and I have been really trying to figure out animal law and how to plug myself into it for probably 8 to 10 years now. And it's been a very evolving area of the law and one that I am very passionate about. And I call myself a voice for the voiceless because animals will forever be voiceless and they need all the advocates that they truly can get. And so that's why I was excited to connect with you all. And I, of course, have been trying to catch up on all of your prior episodes just to hear what you've covered to date.
Music
and
to our ears.
To make sure that I have understood anything you've covered and maybe could add on. But I will say I've learned a lot. Even as you said at the beginning, no one knows everything. And even as, a scholar of the law, I don't know everything. So with that, I've learned a lot based on both of your experiences between rescuing and volunteering and, also the different areas, because I'm mainly in Nashville. So things are a little bit different there in the big city, versus some of the rural counties and what resources we have that you all desperately need and vice versa. So with that, I have... so how I got involved in animal law specifically was... I've always loved animals. As an adult, I've always had pets and, always seen the injustice, like growing up back in the day, it wasn't uncommon for people to leave their dogs outside constantly and chained on a, tether. And so just seeing that, like growing up, it always felt wrong, but that was the normal life, and so I had an aunt who did not have any children, and so as I was a child, she had her family portraits with her poodle Pepper, and so that was when I was like, okay, that's what true love is for a pet, and like that's what they deserve, and so
and how long ago was that?
Oh, I was a young girl,
okay,
so we're
right.
not going to go the years back, but a very long time ago. And so that's always stuck in my mind as far as like, and back then that was crazy, like people probably were, judging her from afar. But to me, I was just like, and Pepper would come at all the Christmas events, would sleep with them. And then my dog was outside, and so it was just like very, challenging as far as like seeing the injustice and even being a part of it, because that was my family's position. Dogs stay outside, So, but as an adult, no, I had my family of pets and, I had my cat Cuddles. That was my girl. And
her name is Cuddles?
Cuddles Lynn.
Oh,
yes.
That's important.
Oh, yes.
She has a middle name.
Yep. And so, and at one point I had 5 pets total. And now I'm just down to one, orange Maine Coon named Memphis Michael. So, they all have their full names. And
That's awesome.
so, yeah. And I, I've always loved animals, but in law school, I was working full time as a claims adjuster. I did not have any children. My pets, I think at that time I had 5. They were my children, and so I had a claim where one of our insureds, who was an electrician, they accidentally burned someone's house down.
Oh,
and
that's a bummer.
2 dogs, 2 yellow labs died of smoke inhalation. So I'm dealing with this homeowner that my insured was totally negligent in causing their fire. And so I had to, settle up the claim with them as far as compensating them for their damages. And that was when it really hit me how challenged the law was. And that claim went on for a while because their whole house was destroyed. But, the dog specifically, because this was before we have the current statute that we have now that would have added in damages for non-economic value, loss of companionship. So
do we have that now?
We have a statute. Yes, it's for negligent or intentional killing of a companion animal, which is defined by cats and dogs only.
Oh.
And there are some exceptions, of course, within that, but it provides up to $5,000 for non-economic damages. And then, of course, you have your economic damages, which is the value of the pet itself as the eyes of property law.
So, yeah, that's...
Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're on the same question. Go for it.
Well, I was just trying to differentiate, where's the line drawn between property and companion animal? That's kind of where, because I know in Tennessee, I thought, generally speaking, a dog is property.
Oh, they're
Animal's
still property.
Yeah.
That statute is just an exception for this type of tort.
Okay.
So if let me get this straight. Big shout out to Professor Kitty Kamaka, who was my business law professor.
Oh.
Love her. She taught me so much. And if I'm remembering correctly, maybe I can put this in layman's terms a little easier. So the companion part, you can get up to $5,000. Let's say, I experience a lot where I hear where somebody has shot a dog that came on their property. If it's on their property, to my understanding, there's nothing you can do. That person was protecting their own property. But let's say I've encountered where somebody threw poison over the fence into the dog owner's property. In that case, if I can prove that the neighbor or whomever did it, I am eligible for up to $5,000 under this companion law. But then when it comes to the property law, I can seek further damages. For example, how much did I spend buying that dog from a breeder, maybe?
Sure. So that's where the law, gets a little challenging as far as establishing damages.
Right.
So back in the case that really triggered my passion. So again, I was in law school and we did not have the statute of the non-economic damages. So I couldn't compensate them for any emotional component at all. So they actually had an attorney, and I remember trying to help that attorney research, because I'm I cried every night, trying to think
there's got to be something.
Yeah. I'm if that was my animals, because actually my company that I was working for at the time, I said, how am I supposed to value this, know? And they said, well, this is purebred dog. I said, yes. They said, well, how much did they pay for the dog from a breeder, or what could they replace it for from a breeder? And they told me that they paid $500 per dog. And they said, okay, well, that's the damages. However, you should probably argue depreciation because these dogs are over 10 years old. Or the age of them.
Appreciation?
Depreciation.
I was
depreciation. So just like a roof, right?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So applying it based on your average life expectancy of a roof is 30 years, and your hailstorm came through and damaged it at 15 years. So there's 50% depreciation, yada, yada, right? So, but I told him, I was I am not saying that word. One, you want to get this case settled. That's disrespectful and insulting, period.
Yeah.
And I was arguing with my own company at that time. I'm like, they appreciate and value, you know, I'm like, not physically, but like the attachment, you know? And so that was where the confliction really came to be, was me handling that case in that way. And I was able to make some accommodations because they only wanted like $2,500 total or something for these 2 dogs. So it wasn't extreme that they were asking for, because they also knew the challenges within the law, you know, but they wanted more than what they paid, essentially, right?
Because you also have belongings that you purchase for that dog. You have if they had crates, if, you know, they had just different things. You also vetted them. You fix
well, that's
them,
a maintenance cost.
Oh, so that would not, okay, sorry. You know, but there's other things that you invest in your pet, right? Training, right? If
that's so that's the new way of looking at it, right? This was 15 years ago, you know, like this was a long time ago before the statutes came about, and our laws, you know, have, as far as case law, right? So there are some things that the leading case for vet malpractice, you know, advises that a owner can testify for their damages. So they can say what the value of their pets were.
Okay.
Now, mind you, there's going to be a battle between the experts as far as that evaluation, et cetera. But, you know, essentially it's like, you know, the value for replacing that pet, if it's based on breed, and then 2, you know, if there's any special training. So like service animals have a whole differing,
and those are expensive. If you're going to attribute a price tag to those, it costs like $20,000 or $30,000 to train a dog for a veteran. I mean, so it depends on
the special training, right? That they're, or if they're a sports dog, like trained in sports, or if they're a breeding dog, they have a value for income, or if they're a new social media star, right? The ability to make income. So there's a lot nowadays, you know, that people can plug into as far as the cost associated with their animal. So that case really, you know, sparked my interest. And then that's when I noticed that the Tennessee Bar Association had an animal law section. And so as a law student, I got plugged in there and have just kind of been involved ever since, and have been the chair for the last couple of years. Specifically, we do our annual forum every year where we try to educate other attorneys about the areas of animal law and try to encourage them to implement it into their regular practice areas.
Is there a demand for it?
Oh, there absolutely is. So that's being the chair. I started getting phone calls from the public needing an attorney for this, needing an attorney for that. And at the time, I wasn't practicing that area or practicing really at all. I was still in insurance. And so I started calling my network, because I'm like, well, as the chair, you know, my job is to educate, but also to provide resources. So that's where I started trying to find referrals, and I couldn't find anybody. To a point that now I've started my own practice.
You are the referral.
Filling the needs of the community. And that was just filtering these calls. And I mean, it's been it's a wide range. And I primarily deal with just companion animals. So I then joined recently the American Bar Association. And that has been a game changer for me, because you know, I've been primarily plugged into Tennessee as far as the legal community here. And again, nobody's really practicing animal law. Some people take a pro bono case here and there for a family friend, or, you know, they deal with it in that way, but not a desire to contribute to the legal profession solely for that. So joining the American Bar Association, I then got to meet people who this is their practice. And they're, of course, in different states though. So they've been able to really mentor me and give me the resources of kind of how they built their practice to be able to, 1, help, and 2, make a living, because that's the other challenge is because pets are property and they have a low value per the eyes of the law.
It's probably a lot of work for not a lot of reward, especially if it's your livelihood and like you were just saying, to make a living off of it. And
Yeah.
I remember talking to you, Jessica, and I've said it to Candy quite a bit, but I think one of the most telling things that I learned from you was that so many of these cases aren't taken because the reward, not the reward, but it's so inexpensive. The fees are so low that it's just no one wants them.
Yeah.
So
But that's the challenge, because these
Yeah.
people really need help. They need to at least know their options, to know what the law says, you know, and give them more information than they had. So with that, going back to the American Bar Association, so animal law is so broad, mind you. Like, so the American Bar Association, their animal law section has 8 subcommittees. I'm on the companion animal subcommittee.
Yeah.
There's farming, wildlife, equestrian, insects and pollinators.
What?
We have, of course, the legislative government relations subcommittee. We have animals in research. We also have diversity and inclusion.
Pardon me?
Diversity and inclusion.
For animals?
Yes.
Okay.
So I
That
actually...
will be a whole nother episode.
Oh, absolutely. And so we, as the American Bar Association, we're actually kind of more international, because we have a lot of people who practice from other countries here, and they take
Benchmark
what they learn
kind of,
here and go. But like, there's one man who is primarily in Pakistan.
Oh.
So, and they have a lot of weather issues there, flooding, and you know, so he does more disaster relief work over in Pakistan.
Super random question. So which committee would be responsible for, and apparently this person isn't breaking any laws, but there is a person in Colombia who owns a kangaroo.
Oh, I think I know who that
Oh,
Swear
they
to God,
I don't even want to go into exotic animals. After
I asked some questions.
Ed the zebra, you
Would that
legally
be-
can have a kangaroo. You
Yeah,
can legally have
yeah.
a giraffe.
But I was driving. I went with my
is. The
friend.
zebra?
And a zebra.
Yeah, same. Like, I was driving with my friend to go kayaking, and we're driving, and we passed this yard, and she goes, "There's a kangaroo under that trampoline." I said, "Excuse me?" And we turned around, and that's just like the beginning of the story. But anyways,
we have an international kind
Okay.
of focused group there, so they would be more
Great.
involved
Just
in that.
asking for
But
a friend.
even my thoughts on the whole exotic animals are, just because the law says you can, does that mean you should?
That applies to life.
Correct. If your
Agreed.
giraffe gets sick, what vet are you taking
The
him
large
to?
animal veterinarian, of course.
And can you afford that?
Right.
Yes.
Do you? I don't
And
know.
how are you transporting?
Well, I don't
Right.
know.
There is that vet.
I don't have a giraffe. Like, don't
Yeah,
judge me
yeah,
for
yeah.
that answer.
Yeah. I mean, there's that vet down in Colombia that does see horses. Would she know how to see a kangaroo? I don't know.
Possibly, but again, it's going to be limited resources,
Right,
right?
right.
And so
That's fine.
and we already have enough limited resources for our cats and dogs,
Right.
As
Right?
it is, right? That that's
I'm
just
sorry.
a whole
I just
another
had
layer.
to ask.
Yeah,
I had to somehow slip that into this conversation.
Oh yes.
What do you see mostly in your practices? Like, what's in common?
So a lot of my practice areas are injuries to animals.
Okay.
So dog on dog fight,
Mhm.
the neighbor or stranger injuring your pet,
Right.
or the other one where that statute comes in as far as the non-economic injury, death. So it's more of a death of a pet. So
Okay.
it's intentional or negligent, but that's like groomers, boarders, pet sitters,
Ooh.
trainers, you know, so where you have entrusted someone else with your pet and something happens. So, so a lot there. I also do a lot of, legally it's called ownership disputes, but guardianship disputes between non-married parties. So boyfriend, girlfriend breaking up, roommates.
Why just non-married? Is that a
Well,
different...
because we have the divorce, and I do consultations to assist divorce attorneys in the event there are
Pets involved.
in a divorce, but you already have a legal action pending. And so they're going to help you.
It's going to be included in part of the divorce terms.
Correct, with the
Gotcha.
assets.
Okay.
You know, now they may ask, you know, I get calls about, well, they want to look at sharing the pet. What's in your experience the best way to do that? And like help me figure out all the costs that are associated so we can get all of that drafted of who's responsible
And you
for
see a lot of that?
In
At
the
least in your
divorce or the
area?
guardianship?
The guardian.
Oh,
I guess
yes.
the
Oh,
guardianship.
yeah. Even parents and adult children who want to move out and take the family pet.
What?
Yes. And then lost and found disputes of ownership disputes there.
You know, I could see that.
Yeah.
You
And a
didn't
lot
come
of that
looking for
comes
your
with the
dog.
Well,
welfare.
right. I could
Yeah.
totally see that happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I also do vicious dog hearings as far as
And
dogs
how does one
who-
define vicious?
Well, the law defines vicious
Yes,
based
all right.
on if it's a county code, like Davidson County Code, or the state law, of course, right, as far as those. But it's, you know, an animal that pretty much attacks without provocation, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they have to have a record, like a history of doing that?
No.
Okay.
But you're more liable if you know and you don't warn, you know, so there's, but so I mean, and it happens a lot often than people realize, you know, as far as their dogs biting someone or like getting in a fight with another dog, you know, so.
And how do you know that? That's what I try to convey to people. Like, my dog is friendly. He's not going to hurt anybody. Well, what if somebody is afraid of your dog, or they're just a mean person and they try to hurt your dog in some way because they feel like it? Your dog defends itself, but you can't prove that your dog was acting in defense of himself because you weren't with your dog. You weren't watching your dog, and nobody else was around either. So
if anyone can take away anything I say today, the most important part is, you know, everyone knows your pet is a responsibility: food, water, shelter, vet care, but they are a liability, both civilly and criminally.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand the degree of that. You know, people can go bankrupt because of an action of their pets. And
have you seen that before?
Oh yes. And you know, can get a felony for letting your dog run at large and causing severe injury or death to someone.
Even on the first, like, if they were warned and they kept doing it, I can see how that could happen. But even on the first time,
if somebody dies,
oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's just, I mean, it's all derivative, you know, but I mean,
as you warned us earlier, every case is different.
Every case is different.
But this reminds me of that saying that they say about guns is you are responsible for every bullet. And wherever it lands and whatever it does, you are responsible for every bullet. So it sounds like exactly the same. You're responsible for what your pet does in or out of your care.
We've talked about that, gun safety versus pet safety in our very early conversations. We're talking about humane educator, right? That relationship. Because it's responsibility.
And they're also parallel to vehicles. They are a deadly weapon. And the law also requires you to license your dog. They also should require you to insure it, you know, like, so.
I feel like my dog, when we say squirrel, Tank does this like, you know, and I'm like,
did we just do that?
We just did that, you know, we had our squirrel moment.
And so for me personally, you talk about people saying, well, my dog's well behaved, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Me sitting here, I had a pug who's rest in peace, Priestley Schultz. And
what was the
then
middle name?
Lee.
It was important.
Yes.
Okay.
And then my orange Maine Coon, they both potentially could have gotten me sued.
Oh.
And they are the sweetest creatures out there. So my pug, of course, I'm walking him. Everyone loves a pug. You know, they're so goofy. And the neighbor comes out and she's like, oh, pug, let me, you know, pet him. And so he had a bad habit of jumping up on people. And so as I have the leash, he goes to run up to her as she's bending down to pet him, and his claw scratches her nose.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh.
But
Okay.
It could have caused, I mean, that's the dirtiest part of their bodies,
Oh,
their
yeah, I guess
nails.
that-
So
yeah.
it could have easily caused an infection.
Right.
2, arguably, I could have been charged. I mean, if this is extreme, right? But potentially I was in violation of running at large because I did not have control of my dog.
Oh, even though he was on the leash.
Even though he's on a leash. There's numerous cases
we
involving
need more
where.
jails for people who let their dogs run.
Well, but she's saying the opposite. She's saying her dog was on leash.
Yes.
But
yeah. So
you said you
young
could have
children
been-
or people who are not strong enough to walk a dog or even,
Wow.
mobile enough to
Mm.
walk a dog. So the law requires you to be under full control of your dog. That's where these retractable leashes are in violation
Right.
over a certain feet.
Do you see a lot of incidents with these retractable leashes?
Retractable leashes should be banned.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell us more about
Yeah.
that later.
Because
but-
I mean, you can't comply with the law because you're not under control of your dog.
Because you can't, if your dog extends out, you can't pull them back in.
Correct.
No.
And some of the laws say 6 feet. There are some leash
Mm.
restrictions.
Well, that's what I was wondering because, like, statewide, you may have that law, but there are ordinances in place
Correct.
that may create some like exceptions to that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when I say law, I mean ordinances or
Okay.
statutes or
Okay,
some kind of
gotcha.
yeah. So
Regulation.
Wow.
yeah, regulation.
So
on it.
why do you think a lot of these aren't being enforced? Like from what you're seeing, because we obviously have a big problem
Mhm.
with
Oh yeah.
roaming animals
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
vicious quote unquote animals.
I mean, it's a lack of resources.
Yeah.
So, in Davidson County, right? I mean, our animal control officers are limited. The shelter space and resources
Full.
there are limited. So, and then also even on the criminal side, our district attorneys, I mean, their plates are full. So, unless it's some extreme circumstance that they feel definitely would be worth the resources to pursue, then normally they don't. And so, and it's not because they don't want to, they just
Right.
can't keep up. And so
Right.
it's really a lack of resources. But so in Davidson County specifically, like the running at large issues, and even some of the cruelty aspects, that they do have options for private prosecution. So like myself specifically, there's a dog that in my neighborhood keeps getting out of the fence. He digs out. And I've called numerous times, but by the time animal control could get there, he's already back in the fence.
Right.
Or we can't locate him,
Yeah.
right? So they've sent the letters. They've done everything they possibly can to correct the situation, but
The owners,
it's
you mean?
animal control.
Animal control. Okay.
Yes.
got
And
it.
there's no fines associated with that every time.
Well,
a letter goes
they
out?
go to, then you have to go to file an actual complaint and go to the courts for it,
Okay.
for you to get a fine. So because animal control's not able to pick up the dog or go out there and capture it like in real time, they gave me the option to do a private prosecution.
Oh, okay.
Which is where I would bring my evidence, my photos,
Yeah.
my call records, my reports of showing every time I've reported it to animal control, and show a continuous behavior as far as that. And then that's up to the courts to decide as far as, but they'll assign me Metro Legal. So it's still through the courts and Metro Legal is still involved, but I would be the one presenting the evidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
and animal control would help guide us in that way.
I hear what you're saying about, okay, does the DA want to prosecute a murder or do they want to go after dogs that keep getting out? But then I also know that we have traffic court, for example. So there are entities out there, but it sounds like there's no entities other than if you're in a city that has this private prosecution. It sounds like there's additionally no entities that are making space for these issues.
Well, that is the private prosecution is in environmental court, which is the codes
Okay.
which is where traffic court can be aligned, and your
Okay.
codes of not mowing your grass, and
it's kind of like the behavior of living in your local society.
Yes.
That kind of little.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's in Nashville. It's called environmental court, is where these
and you have that, but there are other municipalities that don't have
no,
anything.
they have no
Right.
resources, and so then you would have to look at calling the police and getting.
And at that rate,
you
you're almost
options
waiting
there.
for something horrific to happen.
Yeah.
And then
Before somebody
reacting to
finally
that.
listens.
Yeah.
So we've seen in the news multiple bad incidences. A man just died defending his wife in Memphis from stray dogs. Can that wife sue the city? Because there's been other incidences of dogs on the loose, and I hear what you're saying about, hey, there just isn't enough resources, but it's like, too bad, so sad. That was the city's liability, and they didn't do anything. And now this happened. So could those private citizens go back and sue, for example, the shelter, or
anyone can sue anyone?
There you go.
Anything. As
This
far
is
as
America.
a viable
We
claim.
sue.
Yeah.
But I do see the concerns there, right?
Yeah.
As far as
I should say not sue, maybe take legal action.
Yeah.
They take
Yeah.
legal action.
So
Like who's because who's responsible
They
for
were
that
stray.
if they were stray? But
yeah.
this is why like you were just saying, like you can't. We want to believe all the shelters and the administrations are doing the best they can.
I feel like they are.
They are,
Yeah.
but it's like if that sucks for that family,
Right.
Who they're just like, they just lost a loved one. Do you know what we're talking about? Did you
I
hear
don't.
that
I
case?
haven't heard that
Okay.
case.
It was a couple of weeks ago, maybe.
I think it was either last week or the week before.
Yeah.
By the time this airs, a couple weeks ago.
It'll be 3 years from now. I'm just joking.
But it's, and not to say that the shelters aren't doing enough, but sometimes you need these legal actions, I feel, to
Right.
even help those shelters. It's not anything against them. Their hands are tied.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes a big move, or a bigger move, to get people to really pay attention to some of these things. On that note, I want to talk about our animal abuse laws. I keep seeing where there are incidents where there's clear animal abuse, law enforcement is called out and they won't do anything. I was involved in an incident, for example, a few years ago, and there was one from last week too, I can tell you about, but the one from a few years ago was officers responded to a home. They had to deliver a warrant or something like that. I was not provided the detail on that because I'm not in law enforcement. But basically, when they went in, there was an officer who saw a dog with one of those big rubber bands around its neck, and it had worn itself past the fur into the skin, and this dog had a gaping injury around its neck. And the officer, they're attending to one matter, but the officer pulls over the lead officer, whomever it was, and said, "There's a problem with this dog. It can't be left like this." And then the lead officer pretty much said, I could just as well shoot the dog and not worry about it, So then that officer calls somebody else and I get called and I'm like, okay, here's how we go about intervening, seeing if we can do something for this dog. And we did get the dog out of the situation, but I'll give you the example from last week. Somebody goes to Walmart and there are 2 puppies for sale. I believe by the time that person arrived, there were only 2 left, but the puppy's ears are butchered and there is a wire running through the ears, kind of like braces, but for the ears. Law enforcement is called. Nothing is done. What
do these areas have animal control?
This was Memphis. The puppy one was Memphis. Okay. The other one, I think they didn't have animal control, so the default is call on law enforcement, and law enforcement was involved, but they don't do anything.
Yeah. And those are, extreme cases of unfortunate, and so that's a lot of what I'm also trying to explore is how to look at doing possibly private prosecution in those aspects, or helping, provide resources to the local authorities or animal control. So like in Nashville, we can actually do private prosecution through our codes violations for animal cruelty.
Okay.
And it would be the same scenario like I mentioned as far as the running at large. It would be a private person presenting the evidence.
Okay. Instead of a DA having to be involved.
Well, they would still be involved.
Okay.
They would still be involved. So it's still going to be, Metro Legal, or if it is something we can do under the criminal case, the DA would still be involved. But it's like we would be the testifying witness.
Okay.
To present the evidence. Because you have hearsay exceptions. You have a lot of evidentiary issues that can not make it into court for you to be successful in getting those convictions or, charges and code complaints, established. So sometimes that's also why things aren't picked up, is because they know they don't have the evidence that's going to stand up in court to beat the evidentiary rules.
Yeah. Or they might not have the way to prosecute.
Right.
So if I am a consumer, how do I find out if my city has private prosecution? Let's start there.
Well, if you have animal control, I've only experienced it in Nashville.
Okay.
So you would talk to your animal control officer and ask them if you have a right for private prosecution.
Got it.
But then you are going to be named on the docket.
Right.
You're going to be the prosecutor along with, the city legal or city county legal assistants. But you will be the one presenting all of that, just like for me and my neighbor. Like I was going to be the one on stand to point out all of their faults.
That's intimidating. And that's intimidating. And especially we live in a world where people just are fearful of retaliation.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
That's a bit,
yeah.
So that's hard for a lot of people, I think, to even take those steps.
It is. Yeah, it really is. And that's a lot of why people don't pursue it.
Right.
The legal system is intimidating as a whole.
Right.
So I've actually been hired to help a woman do private prosecution for animal cruelty.
Oh.
Okay.
So she wanted
can
to
get assistance.
So she wanted to pursue it under private prosecution, but she didn't understand the court process, and she also knew she was going to have to testify and wanted me to prep her to be ready to take the stand and understand what was going to be asked and expected. And then also she was fearful of retaliation, so having me there to at least know what all was going on and who the parties were involved, and in the event something crazy were to have happened, then I was there to help guide her to the next resources needed. So
would it surprise you if I said that I think it was a couple of weeks ago that I checked our animal abuse registry for Tennessee only had 25 people on it?
Yes.
You're
because
not
it's
surprised
felony and above, and that's a lot of them plead out to misdemeanors. So Tennessee is actually very progressive in the fact that we were the first state to have for the animal abuse registry.
Were we?
We were.
Oh, that's cool.
And we're also one of the rare states to have the non-economic damages statute.
Okay. So then what happens? It's like we're on a roll. It sounds like we had good ideas, and then all of a sudden it's just hard to, do you think the problems just became so hard to regulate? And it just kind of spiraled out of control? Because those ideas are...
Yeah, and it's, you have the civil versus criminal aspects, right? So those are two different pots of the law, right, to accommodate resources. So civilly, that's more attorney's fee based, and then criminally it's more taxpayer dollars. And the resources there as far as the DA, the shelters, animal control, all of that. So it's more a budgetary
let me ask you something. I know thoughts. We talked about it earlier. You can do anything. You can sue.
You can own a kangaroo.
What is the likelihood? Let's say those two puppies that had the botched ears could I take them and then go back and sue that guy? I know I could, but what's the likelihood that I could recover damages for any medical that those dogs needed down the line? Yeah.
Well, you bought them knowingly.
Yeah. As is.
So
Yeah.
you knew the condition that they were in.
Even if they were purchased as a rescue, like, hey, we're just getting them out of danger kind of thing. It's all circumstantial.
It would all be, more the consequential damages of either the criminal law for the animal cruelty or the city code ordinances for the cruelty statute there.
But without the officers doing anything in that situation, even the citizens, even the people who went to help those dogs can't take any action if they don't have.
Well, there's been cases where there's been criminal charges filed. And so these rescues step in and they hold the animals while the court proceedings are ongoing. So then they have the right.
But how do you get those criminal charges filed if the police won't? Isn't it the police that have to kick off the filing?
Well, they then take it to the DA. I mean, you can request a meeting with the DA as well. I mean, I don't know as far as how
they're going to pick it up or not, right?
Yeah, right. But I mean, and they're probably going to send you back to the police to do an investigation, right? So there's hierarchies there as far as evidence collection. But, getting the DA's attention is really the only decider as far as if they're going to pursue charges or not.
Got it.
Have you heard in other states? I've heard they have like puppy lemon laws.
Yes, which we have the Consumer Protection Act here, which it's not technically a lemon law, but it would fall under that as far as a contractual arrangement of what you thought you were purchasing versus what you received.
Is that a path you see a lot of people take or you see often?
So I do get calls about those. A lot of them are the breed. It wasn't purebred like they thought they were purchasing, or the puppy was sick with parvo and other things of that degree. And so then you have, a breach of contract generally because of the sales agreement, depending on what they advertise on their website, right, that they're putting out that people think that they're purchasing.
Right. Because these things seem like a drop in the bucket, like isolated things. Like, well, why would I make a mountain out of a molehill? And, I got a dog that I didn't think was the right breed. Like, it seems small, but I feel like altogether, the people who are selling dogs maybe a little like deceptively, like complaining enough about these and taking enough action can ultimately like reduce the number of people unethically breeding, though, couldn't it? If you're I don't know. In my
if running a
brain
business,
mind, like that's how.
If running a business is enough of a hassle, you'll stop running the business. Whether I agree, and that's why in a previous episode we were talking about, well, the dog looks sick and it's only $100 and I can take this dog to the vet, or maybe the dog's not sick and it's only $100.
Right.
That $100 is going to encourage that person to turn around and make another $600, $700, $800 with another 6, 7, 8 dogs in another litter. So that's why I'm like, do not give them $1. But I didn't realize that our consumer protection applied to animals.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Well, it's property. They're property.
Oh, that's true.
So it'd be no different than a car purchase.
Backfire on the street.
But I guess I didn't like, so if I buy a dog from Megan and the dog,
example, great.
Yes.
Okay,
and the dog has parvo and I got to go to the vet, I could say, hey, you're paying this vet bill and I do or do not want the dog anymore, kind of thing. Behavior, could that be done for behavior? Oh, I guess it goes back to what you said. It depends on what they advertise on their website that you can show.
Well, and a lot of these are also breach of contract because you have a bill of sale and paperwork there as far as what you're purchasing.
If you get a bill of sale,
I was just gonna say, what happens?
You also
if you're not
have
getting
to realize that even if you get a judgment against these people in court, actually collecting on the judgment is,
I don't know, like
another challenge.
Yeah, so maybe, I don't know, for me, if I were in that situation, it wouldn't be about the judgment, or it wouldn't be about the financial gain at all. It would be, like you just said, like, let me make this as hard for this person as possible to breed this way.
Well, and not only that, will the courts, okay, so let's say, to your point, let's say this person keeps selling dogs. Let's say they keep selling sick dogs, and they get 10 people at different times filing a lawsuit. Are the courts paying attention that this is a consumer protection issue? Are they going to shut them down?
So that would be the Attorney General's option there, as far as that's who regulates the Consumer Protection Act in that regard.
Okay.
And they could take action as well. So,
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, supporting that this is a continuous issue.
Yeah.
And the patterns there. But a lot of the times the people who are running that type of business,
nobody goes after them because everybody thinks they're
because they don't have anything to recover,
take,
and then it's not worth your legal fees, like, to pursue
We
that
just
if
need
you're
a
not
lot
going to be
of
able to collect on it.
Independently wealthy retired attorneys who have nothing to do to, like,
just snatch those out of there.
So let's find those people.
But to your point, even if you find those attorneys, there's nothing to threaten that person with.
Yeah.
Because they're putting bread on their table by selling that dog. So that quick $100 fed them. Okay, they had to go to court, and what?
If they show up.
If they show up,
yeah,
they get fined. It doesn't take any skin off their back. But what about, like, I know there's for consumer protection, there's a lot for people, let's say, I don't want to pick on any group in particular because I'm not the expert there and I don't have proof. But let's say there's a store that is constantly selling, makeup.
You're trying so hard not to be specific that it's, like, making me giggle.
I'm going to get a rash later, like, doing all this, like, athletics. But I know consumer protections, they go heavily after, for example, beauty products. So they would shut that store down, right? But if somebody's selling out of their backyard, what happens? They confiscate all those beauty products, and then that's it. The same deal. The person doesn't show up to court. They don't. Are there ever any threats of jail time or anything like that?
So, I mean, there could be potential contempt, depends on the court orders and stuff of that nature. But I haven't had any experience with
in that area. Okay,
yeah,
I'm just wondering if, like, if those people are threatened with jail time for endangering the health of others, why aren't people who are selling parvo puppies, for example, that you encounter? So,
are there things other states are doing that other states are, like, have on their books that you think Tennessee could benefit from? That it's real, that way it would be realistic for us to adapt.
Any law? I know Jersey. I had a dog adopted in Jersey, and they have to license their dogs there.
We do too. We're required to license them.
But nobody's enforcing it.
But it's not licensed. Like, for instance, rabies.
It's
by
your
license,
rabies tax.
you mean rabies.
Yes,
okay.
but it's
Rabies
deemed
is
licensed.
There,
code.
Yep.
There, it's more than that. There, it's an actual. Each year, you have to go and pay like $10 or $15.
Which that's what ours is, but it generally is simultaneous with getting your rabies.
With the rabies tag.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the other thing I, realized that I was not in compliance with in Metro's codes is you're supposed to have that tag on your dog's collar at all times.
Oh,
which
I didn't, because I thought it was
the clank. The clank is annoying.
Well, and I already had a cute one with his name and my number, and figured if anything ever happened, I would just show my paperwork. Right. But no, legally,
it's supposed to be on the pet.
To be on.
See, and I thought the same thing because my dog is microchipped. I'm like, they'll get. And my dog's not. My dog is a huge dog, but he's not going anywhere. He got out of the fence once and stressed out to get back in. But Yeah, I did not realize that because I figured he'll get scanned for a microchip and he'll come back home on the naughty bus, and that would be it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm mostly familiar with Nashville codes.
Yeah,
I mean, as far as that, but that's a requirement. When I was reading it, I was like, oops. I'm not a responsible pet owner right now. Yeah. So.
Well, in New Jersey, there is also, I thought maybe this is where you were going, but there's a, I hate to say it, some people call it like a tattletale fee, but if you know of someone breaking their breeding laws and that person is apprehended, found guilty, you get 10% of the fine. The person who reported it. Which
and they did this, and they did that.
I mean, I think because we're in a state with no income, like state income tax, I think it's hard to find incentives like financially. Like it's hard. You can't just add this tax here. But when I heard that, it was interesting to me because that pool of money is coming from the person who is found guilty if they pay it, I guess. I don't know. But I thought that was intriguing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't think of anything offhand as far as what other states are doing. I know what we could do better in a lot of different areas that would help. So going back to some of your episodes, trying to refresh for today, there was the discussion as far as Memphis requires spay and neutering. And then it was the question of, well, who regulates that, right?
Who's enforcing?
So just last year, our veterinarians were actually ethically allowed to and civilly allowed to report concerns in good faith for animal cruelty. And it's
just last year.
Just last year. Because they have, just like I do, the attorney-client privilege for confidentiality. Vets have that with their clients as well. So they ethically could not report potential abuse because their license was of question. And then, too, it would open them up to civil liability in that aspect.
Okay, but we as humans have that confidentiality with our physicians, but physicians are required reporters in human instances. So
correct.
So that element was just missing.
Says so that's So because it's animals, right? So they just last year changed it. So there's 3 statutes: the cruelty to animals, aggravated cruelty, and the bestiality statute that they can actually report on.
She said that.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I feel like that happens a lot here. I'm not gonna lie.
Of concern.
Yeah.
And it's
what do you mean of concern? What does that mean? Like you, like there's
how is it not concerning?
Well, I'm concerned, but I'm
amount that
I'm thinking, I'm sure that happens every once in a while, but apparently I'm the only one on a couch right now that thinks that. Oh wow.
I watch a lot of news, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
It's of concern. Yeah.
We have dating apps. Come on, people.
Just wait. That's like DEI, though. I mean, we're going to have a dating app where humans can find
No.
There's a lot of, research and correlation between domestic violence and animal cruelty. Yes. Nobody wants to talk about the correlation between bestiality and child porn.
There was just that case. I'm trying to remember if we talked about it in the last podcast about. I'm trying to remember what state. It was a southern state, and I don't want to say the one that's on my mind because I don't want to pigeonhole them. But they found some children. They found a basement or whatever.
They were being trafficked. You sent this to me.
They were being trafficked. Children and animals were being trafficked. And the children were being drugged. And then I don't know if the animals were being drugged or not, but they both were in the same spot. Wow. So do you know if you're clearly seeing this correlation, you're hearing of stories where both are involved. I know a lot of times when people are found doing something, they negotiate down their charges. Do the animal charges get dropped off a lot? Do you know?
I don't know for sure, but I would assume it's part of the negotiations. And of course, our public focus is humans first, right, in those aspects. So I think if they're going to pursue anything harder, it's going to be on the human side. But I mean, there's a lot of correlation that I see, but again, it's a a very sensitive topic as a whole, but it's one of,
but you're right,
really,
people turn their cheek because they don't want to admit that it's happening, but it's happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, my eyes are open.
Yeah.
What would you tell animal lovers if they see something going wrong? What would you tell them to do that would help in the actual courtroom? Like we've talked before about, call for help, escalate the situation, call animal control if they're not responding, call your commissioner, call blah, blah, blah. But what counts in court? Maybe let me say it that way. What counts in court that they can do that would be very helpful? Taking notes, taking pictures.
Well, if you look at it from the fact of, if you have the opportunity to do private prosecution, you're building the case. What does Law and Order say you should do?
Oh my God, there's like 18,000 versions of that show.
So use your own, information, of course, photos, document. Pretend you're going to actually, be the one presenting all of the evidence. And again, you also potentially could set yourself up for, a defamation issue or something of that nature, like
if you don't have that
malicious prosecution aspect, if you're up there with maliciousness, right? So the more facts you have, the better case you're going to build. And then that also is going to help, law enforcement and the DA and all of them actually make their jobs easier, and maybe then they will take the case if all of this is done for them. And
that's
it's
a
not
great
just
point. It's like
speculation.
Candy has been training me recently on how to help with rescues.
Yes.
And she's training me all of the information I need to collect from someone who may need to rehome their dog. And it's the same thing. You're making it easier on the person who may ultimately be responsible for finding a new home for that dog, because I've already done the background. I've done the
and I would say I see it in rescue. I see a lot of people who are downtrodden. They're not going to do anything. And I just want to stop with that attitude, because we cut our noses to spite our faces, and document. Even if you go to grab your camera and you don't get the photo that time, add it to your list and say, I couldn't get a photo in time, but this happened on this day, because then if you show photos and actions on other days, then the courts can use it's like when people
your credibility,
credibility,
the totality of
the
circumstances.
So then when people, I hate to talk about this, but when people are prosecuted for rape, let's say, and that you hear, they were prosecuted on 20 charges of rape, and it's because they could prove at least those 20 incidences, or maybe they didn't have a photo or a video, but they proved it this one time. So then your credibility is built for the other instances. Does that make sense? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, the more info you have, the better. Just like my running at large issue with my dog. Like, I also have a Facebook group for our neighborhood. So I'm not the only one posting. However, though, it needs to be my information, or I work with those people to say, do you want to be
providing
a witness
testimony?
And, give this information, because you have to, confirm when the photo was taken and where it was located, as far as what's in the photo. So you got to, pinpoint down the details.
Well, can you do this anonymously? Actually, that raises a good question. Like, if people are so afraid of retaliation and this and that, is this something that could be pursued anonymously?
Well, no. So animal control, if
Wrong answer,
they are
Jessica.
Involved, yes. So if animal control is involved enough that they can pick the case up.
Okay.
Sure.
And testify to all of those things. The majority of the time is when they're out on the scene and they can say what they saw in the pictures they took.
Okay.
Right? So that's where you're going to have this hearsay exception.
Yeah.
Of, well, who took this picture? Where was it at? Right? That's why you need that witness.
Yeah. Okay.
And because otherwise you're going to have that evidence be excluded because there's nobody there to provide the details to get it in. So if animal control is involved enough that they can take the case and do it without you, yeah, you can totally be anonymous, right? But majority of the times, you know, they don't have the resources, nor just like the police, they can't show up like Superman and be there right then when it happens to be able to do that. So a lot of the times it's, you know, just centered around the evidence and who can testify to its validity.
I'm sorry, I'm processing. I have a delayed reaction
so much.
with life.
We learned so much today.
We did learn,
Jessica,
so much.
Thank you for being with us.
Yes.
Wait, we can't go. Wait, time out. Candy, my notes specifically say that you have an icebreaker question.
Oh, that's right.
We were supposed to think of like a fun question to ask you, so we weren't talking about like really depressing animal things for an hour.
And then have you leave a question for the next guest.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Oh,
Yeah. So our question was,
You didn't put it in there, but it had something. Okay, if you were, this is so boring. It's so dumb. But if you were on a desert island, 3 movies that you would bring with you.
Yeah.
And pretend you have a DVD player too, or a Blu-ray player, or whatever you need.
Dirty Dancing.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
Definitely Dirty Dancing.
All right.
Probably The Notebook.
Oh.
Waiting for
There's a theme
my
here.
Prince Charming to come rescue me and join me in company on this deserted island. And probably what's the one with Tom Hanks where this happens to him in real life?
Castaway.
Castaway. So I can see
You gotta go with
tips
the
and
theme.
tricks of
That's good.
what I need to do.
Especially you have a volleyball. So you
That'd
have
be
a friend.
inspirational.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Hang in
Okay.
there, Wilson.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
Maybe more for us than you. Sorry.
Yeah.
But awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessica.
Yeah.
Like this is, and we'd love to have you again. Maybe, in a little bit. You can kind of bring us up to speed what you've been, what you're seeing.
Yes.
And
again, this is not legal advice.
Right.
Yes. Just my
Right.
experience and opinion on
So you heard her
I've
first.
seen.
This is legal advice. Everyone should take all this information to the bank. I'm just joking. I'm totally joking. I'm joking.
Can we edit that part out?
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, thank you. And thank you guys for listening, watching, however you are digesting this information. Send us your comments, questions at that's right. thebark@lostsavingpaws.org. Follow us on social media, and we will catch you next time.
All right. Thank you.